everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back myself. Sorry. Not been producing a whole lot of content recently, and by a whole lot of content, I kind of mean any. I know the last time that I was throwing some videos out there, I was talking about, it was before SGC Syracuse, and so I finally kind of had a break in my schedule. I've been on a crazy job with work that's finally winding down, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of working on producing some magic content. Some other things I had I was juggling for a little while there was I was also attempting to learn some computer languages and things like that, and so it just got to be too much between work and just some other projects that I was working on and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm gonna go in here and ramble for a bit, I guess. Just to give you a quick update here. So yep, I'm not making any promises, but again, like I said, I really want to get back into producing some magic content. One of the other projects I've been going through was I've been in the process of cataloging my paper magic collection. I've recently come to the conclusion that I think I'm gonna defoil my personal collection, and I'm going to try and put all of those cards towards investing in some power. So that also took up just a lot of my time the past couple of weeks, trying to go through all those cards and get those all entered into an inventory system and all that. But anyway, maybe I'll do a separate video on that later when if the trade-in finally occurs. So that might be in the works, but other than that, like I said, I haven't been playing a whole lot of Magic recently. The SGC Syracuse event was the last opportunity I had to do so. I played the list that you see here on your screen. This deck list is pretty much card for card based off of a list from a gentleman I met in a Discord, TBagTom here. It's a Noble Bug list. I guess I'm kind of diving right into the SGC Syracuse event now. It was a blast. I had a really good time. Kind of got a place to stay with a bunch of other people I didn't know, so it was exciting to get out there and to meet some new people here. Play some games of Legacy with them. It was a really cool crowd we had there. I got to meet some of the gentlemen who produced a lot of the podcasts that I listened to. So that was neat to finally kind of put a face to the voices and to meet them, and they're all cool people there. So shout out to of course Jeremy from Leaving Legacy and Ian and Tom from the Dead Format. Those guys are all really cool, and it was neat to meet some of the people whose names I hear on those radio shows periodically. So yeah, all around really good experience. Had a lot of fun. Didn't do all that well in the event itself, but that's okay. Again, I went primarily because it was pretty much in my backyard, and I'm really trying to break into Legacy here and trying to learn the format, and I did learn a whole lot. One of the things I noticed was that I feel like, this is probably not exactly true, but I feel like I was one of the only people in the room that had any copies of Leovold sleeved up for this event. But either way, I wanted to play a sweet bug deck, and I did accomplish my goal. So, TBagTom, if you do end up watching this, the deck was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for sharing your list with me. I'll just run down it just a little bit here. I can't, again, it's been so long since I've made a video, I can't remember if I've talked about it or not. But basically the deck revolves around some of these really powerful 3-drop creatures that we can then recur with Unearth and power out with Noble Hierarch, and of course just the really strong blue green-black answers in the format. And so his list, he ran I think a full set of, no, hold on, sorry. If you can't tell, I probably sound a little more deranged than usual, but just day one, head cold just kind of smacked me, so I got the NyQuil thing going on after a 60-hour work week, so I'm kind of burning on fumes here, but I really wanted to sit down and get a video out there, just to let you all know that I'm still here on the other end. Anyway, so yeah, you can see the deck here pretty much, but it was a lot of fun to play. I will try to briefly just kind of run down the 5 matches that I did play before I ended up dropping. So round 1 was against Mono Red Prison or Dragon Stompy, whichever you prefer. And during this game, I made probably one of the biggest punts of my entire quote-unquote competitive Magic career. But anyway, turn 1, round 1, he was on the play. He came bursting out of the gates with a turn 1 Legion Warboss, and I managed to Wasteland, started off on a Wasteland that is Soul Land, and he followed that up with a turn 3 Rabble Master, and by the time I started looking at my hand and got my mana straightened out and was ready to line up the Abrupt Decays I had in hand at his goblins, it was just too slow, and I got run over. Game 2, so here we go. Turn 1, I'm on the play. I go ahead and Thought Seize this guy. I see a hand here with Chalice, 2 Lotus Petals, Simeon's Spirit Guide, 2 Mountains, and an Ensnaring Bridge. So I go ahead and I take his Chalice, and then he goes ahead, and on his turn he goes and top decks a Rabble Master and plays it off of his 2 Petals and a Mountain. And I proceed to look at the Goblin Rabble Master in his hand, tip my hand up, stare at the Force of Will and the Brainstorm right there in my own hand. I look back up at him, look this guy straight in the eyes, and I basically just say, okay, yep, it's good, it resolves. And as soon as I said that, of course, my head just snaps back down and looks at the free counterspell in my hand, and I'm like, oh. But by that point, he was already like passing the turn. I don't know what happened. I completely zoned out. I completely just threw that game out the window, and then, as I deserved to, promptly lost a few turns later. And so then I had about a nice 40 minutes to just kind of hang out and think about what I had done. So there you go. There's my rough Magic story for you. So whenever you're sitting there, thinking like, geez, that was a boneheaded thing I did, just remember that weird guy on the internet whose videos you watch halfway through and then X out of. Remember, he's worse at this game than you are. So there you go. Anyway, round 2 was against Eldrazi Stompy. So game 1, I managed to force a Chalice. She tried to play on turn 1 and followed up with a Ponder. Got some stuff there. Then she dropped the Thought-Knot Seer. I followed up with the Noble Hierarch, and then the True Name on the following turn. So I used the True Name to kind of keep the Thought-Knot Seer back, and eventually drew a second Noble. And I realized that she had taken some damage off of Ancient Tomb, and I started to race her with the 2 Nobles and the True Name Nemesis. She eventually drew a Reality Smasher, and I was able to just kind of tempo her out just in time. The turn before she would have killed me, I was able to squeak in with the True Name. But she put me in this weird spot there on the last turn where she didn't just scoop. So I was like, oh well, shoot, what could you possibly have? So she made me sweat it out for a few minutes there. But anyway, we got there. Game 1. Game 2. She gets her Chalice down on turn 1, and I've got a bunch of cards stranded in my hand. I wasteland her land there, and she wastelands me back at my only green source. So I'm stuck without green mana for a while, and I did accidentally squeak a cantrip through her chalice. I didn't do it intentionally. It felt like a jerk, but that's magic, I guess. That's what happens when you play with people like me who aren't aware of the board state and things like that. So I eventually managed to unlock my green mana, and when all she'd been doing was kind of playing like mimics and matter reshapers, but I just kind of been killing with this card in my sideboard here, Diabolic Edict. That's what it's called. I had edicted and strixted some of the little critters she was playing, and so I got that got my green mana back, and that unlocked my Life from the Loam, which pretty much just allowed me to start recurring wastelands, and that took care of that. Of course, she of course had a whole bunch of uncastable big Eldrazi's in her hand. True name Nemesis and Leovold eventually got there. So on to round 3, 1-1 was against Dark Depths. I'd never played against this deck before. In the first game, we kind of traded resources back and forth. I forced a Vampire Hex Mage, but I just kind of got maneuvered into a position where he kind of had the combo multiple ways. I just wasn't really seeing a way out of it. So I just kind of scooped it up there. Game 1. Game 2, I went ahead and kept a hand with the turn 1 Thoughtseize, a Wasteland, and a Strix. Those were kind of the reasons I kept the hand. He mulled the 6. I get him with the Thoughtseize turn 1, and he shows me stage, choke, bob, and bob. So I went ahead and took the choke because I'm a coward and just really didn't want to lose to that card, which is probably a reasonable take. He, of course, top decks a Mox Diamond and plays his bob, turn 1 bob, into another bob, and then proceeds to beat me down with his triple bob draw, and I just get absolutely buried. Can't do anything. So that was game 3. Round 4 was against a blue-black Omnitel deck. It was a really cool deck. I led with a Noble Hierarch in that match. I ended up Thoughtseizing my opponent 3 times, and he just eventually ends up playing a Boseiju and casting a Show and Tell, just like you do after a turn where he Limdol's Vault in response to I think one of my Thoughtseizes. So, yep, just kind of went down hard there. And so game 2, I kept a hand with another Hierarch, and I had I think like 2 Flusterstorms and multiple Force of Wills. So I kept it was very counter magic heavy hand. So I kept it, and despite countering like a whole bunch of stuff that he was doing in the early game, trying to slow him up, I just couldn't find a black source, and I eventually just lost to Show and Tell plus Boseiju again. So at this point, I kind of knew that I was gonna drop some of the other guys in my group. Were talking about going back and hanging out, getting something to eat and this and other thing. So I was all on board with that. But they decided they wanted to play one more game. So I got paired up with this guy on blue-red Delver. Game 1 was really grindy. I remember I had a Jason play for a couple turns. Took some cards off of that. I did Thoughtseize him turn 1 and took his days, and I felt like that was a good play that allowed me to grind out the win there eventually with Leovold and a Noble Hierarch. And unfortunately for my opponent, game 2, he mulled to 5, and I don't think he ever drew a land. So that was just that. Turns out Tarmogoyf is a pretty good threat against an opponent who's absolutely helpless. Who'd have thought? But either way, again, the tournament was a lot of fun. This deck was a lot of fun. Don't know enough about the format to really speculate, but I do wonder what it would take to bring this color combination, specifically Leovold, kind of back into the limelight. Some input I got over the course of the weekend was someone asked me why we're playing Unearth here over just a a reanimate, which I hadn't really considered, and that seems like an interesting inclusion because it has, of course, the added upside of stealing one of your opponent's fatties, I guess, under certain circumstances. So that's something that if I play the deck here, moving forward a little bit, it'd be kind of cool. I think I played this card against the blue-red Delver player, and it was just the following turn he just kind of scooped, so I didn't really get to have any fun with that. But again, the deck was really cool. It was really awesome, and I think for the foreseeable future, I might try to get into Legacy a little bit more. If I do play Modern, because again, I'm kind of most of the foil cards I mentioned earlier that I'm kind of trading out of are all Modern staples. And so I'm going to be kind of transitioning out of that, I think, for the time being. Modern's just not really in a spot where I've been enjoying the format too much recently. Trying to cast a really sweet 4-mana instant is not against decks that are trying to kill you on turn 3 isn't exactly a winning strategy, I don't think. But I mean, some people can make it work, but again, I just do not have the time to dedicate to building the skill and the reps with the Modern control decks in order to kind of play the type of games that I like to play. So if anything, I'll probably just dirtle around with some slow, clunky fair decks. Maybe play some more Emeria Titan in the future. I want to maybe see if I can find a modern or a more recent Modern build of like the what they call like the Gideon tribal deck or whatever, stuff like that. Maybe black-white tokens, something that's doesn't take a lot of investment. You can just kind of sit down, run through a league, and do that and have some fun with it. But okay, well, I've probably talked plenty already here. One last thing I wanted to do. For anyone who's made it this far, first of all, congratulations. Thank you for putting up with my cold medicine-addled brain here. But one thing that I have had a mind to do is at the end of these journal entry videos, I'm going to just do a quick music suggestion. So I really enjoy music. I'm not exceptionally musically talented or anything like that. I did play like trumpet in middle school band, but beyond that, I don't write music or play any instruments or anything like that. But I do really enjoy music. And a couple years ago, I discovered a genre of music. It's called post-rock, and I don't pretend to know a lot about either A, the people who produce it, or B, what exactly the genre means. But I can only say that it's pretty cool, and I've been enjoying it for, again, several years now. So if you are into guitar and just some really, it's not quite like, well, maybe it's a little progressive-y or something like that. But either way, I'll cut to the chase here. So the first album I listened to in this genre was called Departure Songs by the band We Lost the Sea. So I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but just figured I'd share this. Because again, I've gotten a lot of enjoyment from this music, and if anyone else finds it half as enjoyable as I do, well then I would just love to share it. So I'll probably put a link to that album on just kind of like a host channel or their Bandcamp or something down in the description below. I'm not going to spoil anything about the album. It just kind of popped up in my YouTube feed one day, and I just on a whim I clicked on it, and I was just hooked. I mean, it sucked me right in. It is, in my opinion, it was really different than kind of anything I had listened to before. And after I gave the album a couple playthroughs, I'm really bad at like listening to music. It takes me, I don't know why, but for some reason when listening to lyrics, it makes it sometimes it's hard for me to hear like what is being actually said or what the words actually are. But anyway, I don't know why. But so it took me a couple listen throughs, and I started kind of picking up on these undercurrents in the album. And sure enough, I went and I looked after a few playthroughs, and I saw that that there was this meaning behind it and all that, and it just made it that much more cool to me. But anyway, go ahead, check it out if you got an hour to kill, or you just want to put something on in the background. Departure Songs by We Lost the Sea. Go ahead, hit it up. Let me know what you think. Or if you have any post-rock or recommendations, please feel free to share them down there in the comments below. Again, assuming anyone makes it this far through this video, because I'm probably at, 20 minutes, a half hour now, so I'll be shocked if anyone actually makes it this part. But anyway, seriously, let me know what you think. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for listening this long. And hopefully there will be some more videos kicking your way soon. So, alright, thanks and take care.